What's going on, YouTube? Today I'm going to fix up this old brace. It's the gas tank support for the CJ7. It's out of the 84. There's a guy on Facebook Marketplace. He's desperate for one. I told him I'll clean it up. It's in rough shape, but I'll weld the tabs on it for him and everything, and hopefully get him back up and running. I'm only going to charge him 60 bucks. It's a quick 60 for me. Mainly I'm helping the guy out. Obviously I'm going to have some labor into this thing. But he's a fellow Jeeper, so I'm going to do what I can and, you know, put a few dollars back in my pocket and save this part, right? So it's a win-win for everybody.
So what I'm doing here is I just want to square up the edge and clean up the rust. You can't get a good weld if you've got rust and, you know, paint and debris on the metal. You want to get as clean as you can. So the edge is all squared up. I've got it looking half decent, rolling along. Going to get everything prepped and ready to go. The metal's actually in pretty good shape here. It was just the tabs rotted off, and that's really common on these old Jeeps. In a lot of cases you can save these things. So I speed through the video a little bit here. There's a lot of stuff you'd just be bored to death watching. This is the actual frame rail left over from my 84 Jeep CJ. The thing was in such rough shape, it wasn't worth much of anything. So I'm just using it for the tabs that I need. I'll cut the pieces out of this. And again, I'm speeding the video up, so otherwise it'd be pretty boring just watching this. So I've got my panel. Now I'm taking some measurements. This is the Golden Eagle frame that I saved. It's in pretty good shape. So I want to make sure I drill these holes and mount the tabs down there in the right place and that they're the appropriate length. So I'm just going to mark that off now on the metal, and then I'll cut it out and I'll give it a rough shape, and then towards the end I'll actually make a cardboard template and make sure I get the shape perfect. So here I'm just cutting it out. I kind of speed ahead through this a little bit. So this is me just tacking it on. And it's just as easy as that, guys. I don't solid weld material like this. Number one, I don't want to warp it. It's older, it's a little thinner. I don't want to blow through. So I tack it all up, and then I flip it over and tack the other side as well. I want to make sure it's good and strong. Now I flipped it around, I'm doing the other side. This side doesn't have the hole cut into it yet, so I'll have to make provisions for that. So again, just lightly tacking it. I had a little blow through there, so I went back and touched it up. Now I'm doing the underside of it, hammering it straight, working the metal to make sure it's in good shape and it's positioned where it should be. Also my ground, I don't know if you noticed there or not, but I took a grinder and I scuffed that up pretty good, so you get a good ground connection. Now I'm just cleaning up all the little tack welds that I did. I don't show it, but there's a few spots where the tack welds aren't perfect, so I just go back and do a little bit of filler weld, and then I grind that back down again to try and keep it all metal. So it's actually coming out pretty good. And I do the underside as well. And then when I finished, I'll sandblast the entire part. So I'm just buzzing through it. So I've got it looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. Just finishing up the last little bit of the grinding. And I've still got two more tabs to weld. Those are just the main tabs that sit on the top of the frame. So I've still got to cut out and weld the two tabs that go on the bottom. And it's actually a pretty easy repair. I know a lot of people get intimidated. You know, they think the part's completely junk and it needs to be replaced, but it's not the case. So here's the bottom tabs here. They're all cut out. Saved you the agony of watching that process. I forgot to turn the welder on, so I just quickly run over, flick it on, and come back and start tacking. I do that all the time. It drives me nuts. You just set your welder up and you go to start welding and the power's not on. So now I flipped it around. I'm doing the other side. Getting it all tacked in. It's actually welding up really nicely. So here, the one end, the tab on there is in good shape and the hole is in good shape as well. So I'm tracing it all out, give myself a good reference to make sure the tab on the other end is built properly and that I drilled the hole in the right place. So I double check this with the existing frame that I have to make sure my template matches up with what I had just traced off of there. I make sure it correlates with the other frame. So I know it's in good shape. So now what I'm doing is I'm measuring from the end of the hole to the end of the tab I just welded on. And I hold that mark with my thumb. So you don't even need to know how to use a measuring tape or know math or anything. You just hold your thumb as a reference on that tape and don't let it move. It's a trick I learned when I was a plumber years back. So I'm just putting the template down and marking it out, making sure it's positioned just perfectly. I don't want the guy to have a problem when he goes to mount the Jeep. It'd be horrible if the hole was drilled in the wrong spot and you go to put the body mount in and it doesn't line up. So I'm trying to be very careful to ensure I get this in the right spot. I shave a little bit off the cardboard template because the measurement's not quite right. So I just double check my measurement again. Everything's perfect. And then I just mark it out with a Sharpie. It's pretty simple. It's kid stuff, really. So I'm just finishing it up. And that's good. So now, I didn't realize when I was taking my camera, my GoPro, off of my welding helmet and transferring it over to my grinding shield, I didn't realize that I needed to change the mount position. So I apologize, the camera loses some of the view here. So that's what's going on. It's just from transferring the camera from one helmet to another and not realizing the angle was a little different. So what I did was I just drilled the hole out. I think it was a 3/8 drill bit. And then I used my step drill and brought the hole up to a 3/4 of an inch. And then after that, I used my die grinder and brought it out the rest of the way. And then I actually used a washer to double check the fit to make sure both holes were the same size. So here I'm just blasting. I don't film this for long because the cabinet's pretty dusty and you can't see. And that's it. That's the finished product. It came out really well. I think it's perfect for a daily driver. If you're going to use this for a restoration piece, it would need a little bit more work, maybe a little bit of filler and some sanding. But all in all, it's pretty good.